Hello, everybody, and welcome to SnapTech IT's monthly webinar. This is our December 2024 edition. My name's Nathan Caldwell. I'm a marketing professional with SnapTech IT, and I'm your co-host for today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining the live session today. We always appreciate that we have audience members here to join in, to ask questions, and gain this knowledge firsthand, live and in person. So thanks so much for being here. Just a quick announcement though, you aren't the only ones who will get to see this. Everybody who registers for our webinars always gets a recording afterwards. Usually takes about 24 hours or so to get that link out to our registrants. And always, if you don't get the email, or if you miss it somehow, or you just don't find it in your inbox for some reason, and you want to watch some of our content, we're always available on our YouTube channel, and then also on our website. We're always putting up our content there. So today, our topic is Microsoft Copilot, everything you need to know to get started with Microsoft Copilot. And what we are promising you today is less yada yada and more demo. And to get us there and to fulfill that promise, the wonderful and illustrious SnapTech CRO, Ted Hulsy, is joining me. Ted, welcome. We appreciate that you know what? I have been counting the number of sessions you've led on Copilot, like this year alone, and you've got to be one of the foremost prolific speakers in 2024. If there were an Oscars or Golden Globes for Microsoft Copilot content, the top speaker would have to go to you. And so we are so lucky, audience. Like, Christmas just came early, and you get to sneak peek and open up your present today with Ted Hulsy being our Microsoft Copilot demo extraordinaire. Ted, welcome.
All right. Well, Nathan, not to build it up too much, overpromise. Hopefully, I'm able to deliver. But it's great to be here, everybody. We are going to try to make today's session very demo focused, right? As Nathan said. So we do have a handful of slides because they're, just to introduce what Copilot is to everybody. But then we really want to get into the hands-on demo, show you the way this technology works. But before we do any of that, we do like to spend a minute or two just letting you know who SnapTech IT is. We are a cybersecurity first managed IT provider with operations in Atlanta, Georgia, Phoenix, Arizona, and San Francisco, California. We really believe that technology should solve your company's problems, not create them. What we often find is when we meet new clients is that people are frustrated with technical problems, downtime. Executives are concerned about cybersecurity issues. You're losing sleep. You're concerned about these things, or maybe you're getting an inferior support experience from your incumbent provider. Our goal in life is to make all of these problems go away. We do that with a proven process. When we bring on a new client, we always do an assessment to get to know them in the beginning. And what we deliver them is a technology plan. We give them a predictable budget. We implement our best practices. And what you get as an organization is the ability to run your technology and run your business at the highest maximum productivity for your people. You're able to work anywhere, work securely. When things break, and things always break in technology, that's just the nature of the beast. You have somebody to call on, and we're here to support you in real time during the business day. And you get that peace of mind that you're working with an MSP that is really focused on cybersecurity and weaves it into everything they do. We serve clients in two different ways. If you are a smaller organization and you don't have anyone who has IT on their badge, we can do it all for you, and we call that fully managed IT. If you're a larger organization that has an IT director or an IT manager, we deliver what's called co-managed IT. So that's it in terms of the infomercial on who we are. Let's get into today's content. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get in and talk about Microsoft Copilot. How do you license it? What are the key components? What does it cost? And then we're going to get into some live demos. So Copilot, it can be a little confusing because at the highest level, here's an important thing to think about. Almost every Microsoft Light software product will have a Copilot. If they don't today, they will over time. So Copilot is this term that Microsoft has kind of focused on, which is it's a AI enabled add-on to every software product that Microsoft has. Now, it's actually in a business to business setting, it's actually kind of hard to trial the full-blown version of the product, and we'll explain why that is in a moment. But like you can dabble with Copilot just by like accessing it from a web browser interface, and what you're getting there is kind of a little bit like the functionality that you see from the free version of ChatGPT. In terms of user experience, you also see Bing's Microsoft search engine enhanced with Copilot. If you're a prosumer, you can license what's called Copilot Pro, and this version is month to month. It costs $20 a month, and it gets you access to all of the core benefits of the ChatGPT engine and the benefits of generative AI. And then it also integrates with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook, but it doesn't integrate with Teams, and it doesn't integrate with the rest of the other applications you find in Microsoft 365. What we're going to really focus on today, and what we really talk with most of our clients about, is Copilot for Microsoft 365. And the reason for that is that some of the coolest functionality is in what you can do with Teams, and the way Copilot operates with Outlook and Teams and all of the traditional ways you interact in a corporate setting. So that's really what we're going to focus on today, to give just a kind of a different view of how that looks. Copilot for Microsoft 365 adds that capabilities for Teams. We're going to talk about what we mean by Microsoft Graph grounding here in a moment. But there's a whole bunch of other applications in the Microsoft 365 suite, and those too are enhanced with Copilot. And so that's kind of how to think about the different products you can license. Oh, and I forgot to talk about the pricing of Copilot for Microsoft 365. It is $360 a year, so it's effectively a $30 cost per month. You can only license it on an annualized basis, which is, I don't know why Microsoft's doing that. I'm sure it'll change at some point in the future, because virtually every other Microsoft product has an annual license option and a month-to-month option. But with Copilot for Microsoft 365 today, you can only license it on an annualized basis, which makes it a little hard to trial it. I mean, you have to really be convicted that you want to shell out the money to try it. But hopefully that's why we're doing in our marketing throughout this year and next, we're just doing a lot of spending time using the product, hands-on workshops, live demos, because seeing is believing with this technology, I think, to a large degree. Okay, let's talk about where does Copilot fit in the overall AI ecosystem? A couple comments to make. First of all, the company that's probably the biggest player in artificial intelligence today is OpenAI. And they kind of took the world by storm 24 months ago when they released ChatGPT. Probably everybody on this call today has played around with ChatGPT. It's one of the most fast adopted technologies in world history. And it's got a freemium version and a premium version. And it just so happens that Microsoft is the biggest investor in OpenAI. And most of OpenAI's technology runs on the Microsoft Azure cloud environment. Now, what makes Copilot quite interesting is it's probably the most successful commercialization of generative AI technology, because what Microsoft is doing is it's taking that capability of generative AI, which is this almost magical capability of generating text and content in a human-like form that's automatic, that's automated, that's a robot, so to speak, generating this content. And they've taken it and they've baked it into the traditional Microsoft software suite that we're all familiar with, Microsoft Word, Outlook, Teams, PowerPoint, etc. And they've implemented it in a way that companies can leverage the benefits of AI while keeping their private content and intellectual property and data secure. And the way Microsoft does that is with what they call the Microsoft Graph. So if you're a Microsoft customer today, you have a domain, and you have your email and calendar and Teams messages and your SharePoint sites, and all of that content lives in the Microsoft cloud. And we trust Microsoft to safeguard that environment. And every organization that's running Microsoft 365 has that level of trust. What Microsoft's done is they've layered this capability of Copilot on top, and Copilot kind of sits in the middle, and it allows you to leverage all of that internal content you have in your organization and get the benefits of Copilot to look in at your own content, to search your email, search your chat messages in Teams, your meetings in Teams, your content living in OneDrive and SharePoint, to leverage the benefits of generative AI, while at the same time, Copilot can go to the large language models and go and leverage all of the content that's out in the ChatGPT engine out on the web to generate raw additional content that's from the web or from the outside world. So Copilot gets you the best of both worlds, and it all works from inside the applications you're all familiar with. It maybe makes sense just to quickly touch on kind of the AI landscape. NVIDIA is probably the most successful hardware company in the space because their GPU technology is what powers a lot of the cloud-based technology to do generative AI. But you see, of course, like we mentioned, Microsoft and OpenAI are kind of the kings of the heap at this moment. And then there's a bunch of really, I mean, literally at this point, hundreds of very interesting companies developing alternative large language models. You know, Amazon is a big investor in a company called Anthropic, for example, that has its Claude solution. Google's, of course, a big player, and so on and so forth. And of course, there's a big service ecosystem to help companies get into Copilot, or to get into generative AI in general. And we're very focused on Copilot because we're a big Microsoft partner, and we think Microsoft's got the really best solution to commercialize this technology and make it really relevant, usable today. Let's talk about ROI before we get into the demos. Microsoft done some analysis where, like, literally, if you know, this technology costs $30 a month per employee per month. So if you can save your average employee 1 hour per month, you're generating a 12% return on investment on that investment. As you go up, if you can save 1.5 hours or 2 hours a month or 2.5 hours, I mean, just like the ROI goes off the charts. And just as a user today, I can tell you I'm saving a dozen hours a month in terms of things I traditionally have had to do that I'm able to crank out in much, much less time. We're talking 5, 10, 20% of what it traditionally costs me in terms of time to create a piece of content. With Copilot, have that return. So the return on investment is quite astounding in my opinion. Now, the technology is not perfect. I think only as of a couple months ago, Microsoft was still regarding this technology as pre-release. And, you know, today, I think they don't pre-release moniker on it anymore, but there are bugs. There are things that happen. So just keep that in mind. Like, it's not everything is perfect all the time. And so just keep that in mind, and hopefully, you know, everything behaves according to plan today, and we'll get into the demos here momentarily. So just a quick triptych on like what we're going to look at. We're going to look at how Copilot works in Microsoft Teams. We're going to look at how how you can use it with chat, use it with meetings that you've recorded. We're going to look at it in Word and Outlook and PowerPoint. That's the kind of the scope of what we're going to do today. So this is just kind of like a roadmap of the different things you can do. But Nathan, did you drop out or did I drop out? Hopefully you tell me.
Your video paused, but I was getting your audio the whole time. So I think we were okay, but we do have a reminder popping up on your screen.
Okay. Sorry.
No worries. Just another quick comment about the time saving mechanism. You know, if you think about a lot of times you're using Copilot to generate, like for instance, a PowerPoint presentation, and it can generate, you know, draft one within just a few moments. Whereas if you were to send that out to someone else with your instructions, it would take a couple days for them to get back to you with their draft, right? So it's not only the time savings that it shrinks down the workload into a shorter time, it also shrinks the draft cycle down, so you aren't waiting for people to get it back to you. And then it also shrinks down the feedback cycle, so that you aren't like getting draft one and then saying, no, change all these things. And the person's saying like, okay, well, my calendar's full, so I'll get to it in a business day or 2 business days or 3 business days, and then I'll have draft 2 back for you. And so that's a big way. While it's not perfect, while it doesn't get you 100% of the way there to final draft, this is perfect. Thank you so much, Copilot, for giving me exactly what I wanted. You know, the cycles can move a lot faster and you end up saving a lot of time that way. So just be watching out for that kind of mindset as well when considering throughout the demo what it can do for you. You want to go ahead and have me launch this poll?
Yeah,
Ted? All right, let's launch it. So the poll question is, what are your Copilot plans for 2025? So select one of the following. Is it that we're already using Copilot and we're experts, or we are already using Copilot, but we feel like beginners, we're trying to learn more? Is it that you have Copilot, but you're having trouble getting started? Is it that you know you need it, but you don't have a plan for it yet? That's a big answer that we've been getting a lot with people who register for our in-person Copilot workshops and in-person Copilot lunch and learns. When I ask them, hey, just a quick question, why'd you register? What has you interested? And the verbatim answer is often, we know we need to look into it, we just haven't done it yet. And so they come to our workshops, come to our in-person events, or attend webinars like this that we put on in order to figure it out. And then the last one is, R2D2 is my Copilot. What Copilot are you talking about? So right now we're getting some results back in. 40% are saying that we have Copilot and we're having trouble getting started. 27% tie on we're using Copilot and we feel like beginners. And also the 27% tie goes to we know we need it, but don't have a plan for it yet. 6% of you are answering that R2D2 is your Copilot. What Copilot are you talking about? So, you know, you guys, you're going to be my favorites through this webinar because you've got a sense of humor, and thanks for sharing that. All right, I'm going to close this poll here. Let's share these results. You see the results here. I actually got a couple of different answers while I was speaking about it. But the big one is they have Copilot and they're having trouble getting started. So you came to the right place because Ted is going to show you in the demos some key ways where you can take advantage of it and get rocking and rolling with Copilot today. So I'm going to hide these results. Ted, let's go back to you and let's get going here.
Yeah, and just want to remind everybody, please, Nathan's monitoring the Q&A log so he could chime in with questions. So your live questions are super helpful to let us know if we're kind of like confusing people or off track, you know. So just please use the Q&A function and go to webinar and share those questions with Nathan, and he'll jump in and prompt me with your questions. So, okay, let's get into it. So we talked about how we're going to, the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at how Copilot works kind of with Microsoft Teams. So okay, one of the just most common use cases for this tech today is we're all drowning in email, in Teams messages. If you go out of the office for a day to a trade show, you come back and your Teams is a total disaster with all of these you know, chat messages you haven't responded to and haven't been in the loop on, for example. And one really common thing that happens all the time is you're like, I know somebody sent me something, but is it in Teams or is it in email? And so like this is the state of affairs for our work lives these days. And Copilot is a kind of a killer app just for this function alone. But what I'm going to show you is something that's very common, is you can just you can just say to Copilot, you can log in. I'm here in the web interface. I'm just going to say, show me all the messages from, and then you put a slash, and then you can basically pick a person. And I'm going to pick Nathan, and it's going to automatically go and give me a digest of all the messages that have come in from Nathan in the recent past. And so about an hour ago. Okay, anyway, so just like this is
about an hour ago, you didn't answer me, Ted.
Okay, well, right. So you said there the credit card on our Fiverr account needed to be updated. So I mean, if you just click on this, what it will do is it'll toggle you over right into Microsoft Teams and show you show you that message and get you right to that message from your colleague. And so alternatively, let's try to find one that I know is an email here. Let's see. Anyway, let's just kind of click on a couple of these. But so it basically takes you right to the messages that you're looking for, whether it's an email or a Teams message. So that's something that I find I'm using all the time. Is you're just trying to track down you're trying to track down a certain particular message, and everything here is like footnoted, if you will, and will take you right to either that email you're looking for or the Teams message that you're searching for. Okay, so that's kind of just a very
beautiful thing about this too is how it demonstrates it in a timeline. Because how many times do we step back into our inbox or our chat messages and we're trying to get caught up quickly and aren't noticing what time of day something came in, and we immediately start replying to a message that was from earlier in the day and not the most updated piece of the conversation between colleagues, and it throws things into confusion. Because then people are like, why are you changing everyone's mind? We already settled and made a decision on this, and it's because you read the 11 a.m. message and not the 2 p.m. message first. And so you don't have the latest update, and it just can cause friction. So this is a great way to visualize it, streamline it, and again, it's saving you time instead of hopping all the way around.
Yeah, and so another very common one is you're in a chat thread, and sometimes if you're very focused on your client meeting and you're a client meeting for 3 hours, you put Teams on do not disturb mode and you're focused, and so you're not in the conversation. So it's very common that you'll come back and there's like pages upon pages of content that you now need to kind of quickly digest. And one thing you can do when you have Copilot is you see Copilot, like I'm in Teams, this is a big thread. This thread is a couple months old. It's good to demo on because it's kind of relevant for this. But like back in the summertime, we as a company built a hands-on Copilot demo lab environment. And so there was a lot of collaboration between Nathan and I and our technical team to develop this Copilot lab that we literally have like this lab environment where we have 12 laptops and we can take it anywhere in the country and do a Copilot workshop. And this was a discussion around that initiative. And so you have all this chat coming in from my technical colleagues, and you can just do something very simple as summarize this conversation. So right down here in the lower right corner, I can ask Copilot to summarize this conversation.
And take a look at what it's saying there, everyone. It's summarizing from July 25th through August 9th. So it's getting you like really boiling down the conversation to get you there a lot faster.
So what you see is that Michael Kinsley initiated the conversation. It involves Chuck and Shane and Sean. And Chuck is talking some technical topics, and then
Michael's there
Matthew's
chiming in, and then
yeah.
Ted is chiming in, and Chuck. Like, you can see that it's collecting from every single person. It's helping you to recognize who gave what info when, so that you can easily digest this and then be effective when it comes time for you to respond and join in the conversation. We can't understate how effective this is, because when you think about people being out of the office for a day and then coming back in, or whether they're out on PTO or whether they're at, as you mentioned, Ted, a trade show, or their heads down working on a project, we can't always be 100% alert all the time for every ping that we get in these conversations. So it's very helpful to have this AI assistant that can help bring us up to speed a lot faster and not allow balls to drop or things to fall through the crack.
Right.
I rely on my wife all the time to help me remember what's going on with our family schedule. Even though it's written on the calendar on the wall, I still am checking in with her like, hey, summarize it for me. What time do we have to be there? So having an assistant like that is vitally important. Not everybody can hire an assistant, right? Not everybody has the luxury of a wonderful wife who keeps you up to date. So
Right.
having Copilot there can be helpful to everyone.
But so one of the cool things it does is that you can, if you just click on this little footnote here, it'll actually take you to where in the conversation, Chuck specifically said, maybe we can use Screen Connect for remote access and configuring Intune for updates, just as an example, right? So just another example, you can click on this footnote here and it'll take you right to that spot in that conversation. So day to day, I would say this is like a killer app, like using Teams and using Copilot as your assistant to help you parse all of this information that is coming your way. Now, let's change gears and look at something different. Another very common thing that happens is you just simply miss a meeting. So if you miss a meeting, most organizations using Copilot today will record the meetings, right? So what you can do with Microsoft 365 today, whether you've got Copilot or not, is you can record meetings. Okay, great. You can record meetings, you can turn them into transcripts. That's great, but that's not like the killer app. Like having a very long transcript of a meeting is not going to get you very far unless you have like an AI assistant to help you digest that transcript and tell you something about a meeting. So today, like I think where we are as a company is that we record almost every meeting. And every meeting has a transcript and everybody's got Copilot. So Copilot is this like assistant that can allow you to quickly get a recap of a meeting. So let me just show you how this works. So this meeting, this is actually like I recorded, this was a hands-on demo I did with some clients and prospects. And what you see is we recorded the session. There's a transcript here, and you see that the transcript is just like pages and pages and pages long. So very hard to digest that. But what you can simply do with Copilot is if you miss a meeting or you miss a session, you can just say, "Hey, recap the meeting for me." And here Copilot will take that transcript and turn it into a nice, good summary. So here are the key topics that were discussed, in this meeting. Ted introduced Microsoft Copilot. He talked about licensing usage. He provided some practical examples of Copilot. We talked a little bit about data privacy and security. And it just so happens that this is the actual, I was using that PowerPoint presentation we were looking at earlier as well. And this provides a really high fidelity summary of that meeting. And if there were action items in the meeting, it's really good at actually like determining like, hey, these were the 3 things that people committed to doing coming out of the meeting. And then you can quickly copy this or digest it. To me, killer app functionality in Copilot when it works with Teams. So
yeah, you're showing
that,
both of these examples to offer these footnotes, and like it's super helpful to be able to go back and get more context. if you were to send just a person in your place as like, hey, take notes for me, I can't be at this meeting, they can take good notes. They might come up with these key topics in this summary. But then if you say, hey, what was that one key point, the data privacy and security, what about this? What about the context of that? Did they mention this? The person might be scratching their head because they're looking at their notes and all they had was a couple of sentences to summarize what they caught from it. So to be able to actually click on the footnote, get back to the place where it was all shared about and you can review it in more detail, hear everything that was being said about that particular place of interest in the conversation or in the meeting, it gets you light years ahead of being able to decipher context and also not assume bad of others. Well, all you had was this one sentence or two sentences of notes. Did they even cover it? Did they even go into detail? And we get frustrated with others when we weren't even in the room. So this alleviates a lot of that, those silos of communication or insufficient notes in some instances, and
it's
it gets us
time-stamped.
to the content. Yeah,
it's time-stamped, and it can take you right to the part in the meeting. Where that was discussed, and you can digest it on your own. So super helpful. I think at this moment, let's change gears from Teams to Outlook. Okay, now on this one, I'm going to do, just to keep us moving quickly, is I'm going to copy and paste some of these prompts rather than type them out myself. But the first thing is that, you know, Copilot comes in handy because it literally can just help you become an email writing machine. We're all drowning in email. We often need to send, like, you know, maybe medium-sized emails to an external audience, to a client or a customer or business partner. You know, we want to be sensitive about what we're sending. And so Copilot, so right here, we're in the new version of Outlook, and you see that Microsoft nests Copilot in very logical places throughout the user interface. And so here, just draft with Copilot. I can just put in a prompt. I just copied this from my spreadsheet over here. So write an email to our best clients recommending that they attend our upcoming workshop on Copilot for Microsoft 365. And it will go ahead and draft this email for me. And so what you see is you get like immediately, you know, I hope this email finds you well. I'm excited to extend a special invitation to your upcoming workshop on Copilot for Microsoft 365 as one of our valued clients. Okay, and the first thing I want to say, I want to look at this, I might go, this seems a little too formal. Like, I want to make this a little more casual. And so Microsoft has these different prompt shortcuts already baked right in. So you can say, hey, make this more casual. And so it's going to rewrite it. And it just, I hope you're doing well, right? So it just cuts to the chase more. Another thing that you might say, create a list of bullets with the benefits for attending. Okay, let's try that. Okay, let's see if it did it take it? All right, here we go. Okay. All right. Anyway, it didn't give me my bullets. Sometimes it gives me my bullets, and sometimes it's not. But you get the idea, which is Copilot can respond to your emails or draft emails from scratch. Let's just show another one. So one thing that we've been dealing with as a company and with our clients is there's been a whole raft of phishing attacks utilizing Dropbox links. And so let's just say we need to quickly crank out a communication to our best clients, telling them about the risks of phishing attacks using Dropbox links. And so let's just say you're in the marketing department and you're tasked with writing that email. I'm going to just show you how quickly you can generate that email. Write an email alerting our clients to phishing attacks using Dropbox links. And so, you know, I hope this finds you well. Again, I think that's too formal. I want to make it a little more casual. Let's try that. Okay, let's make sure that add some paragraphs. Okay. All right, so it gives me like, I hope you're doing well. We wanted to give you a heads up about a recent uptick in phishing attacks using Dropbox links. So just with a 1-sentence prompt, it comes back and is able to kind of source knowledge from the whole web that says, hey, we all know that this is a growing problem, that people are using legitimate file collaboration platforms as a way to trick people and do phishing and cybersecurity, like social engineering attacks. Here are a couple ways to stay safe. Always check the sender's email address. And it gives me some, so it basically gets me to an 80% point in no time flat. So this is Outlook. You can use this to respond to emails. You can use it to generate emails from scratch, like we just showed here. You can also, there's also a feature called, that I'm not going to demo, but a feature called coaching. So you can write an email and then ask Copilot to give you some coaching on like the tone or the formatting of an email, and give you suggested change to the email you already have. So what we want to do now is switch over to Microsoft Word. So here in Word, you again see that Microsoft kind of nests the Copilot functionality right here, right at the top of the document, and you can click there. And so I'm going to ask it, you know, one of the things we all face in the business world today, and this is why, you know, Google is a massive company, is we use the internet to do rapid research. We use the internet to find information. The challenge is today, like with your typical Google search, is you get kind of maybe too much advertising. You get too many links. You get too many links that are kind of bogus or maybe spammy or been kind of pushed to the top through artificial means. And sometimes what you really want in terms of a research task is to have like a nice 500 or 1,000 word essay on a topic that can really kind of bootstrap your knowledge you need to get to on a certain topic. I mean, every day we're faced with, you know, tons of questions from our bosses or our colleagues about different topics, and we just need to become experts on something in no time flat. Let's see how Copilot living in Microsoft Word can become your research assistant. So I'm going to just copy a prompt over here from my spreadsheet, and I'm going to say, write a 1,000-word essay summarizing the history of Elon Musk's Starlink service. I'm going to say generate. And what you're going to see is that what Copilot is doing is it's leveraging the ChatGPT engine, and it's going out and it's synthesizing all of this information and producing a really well-crafted memo on a topic. So if you want to understand the history of Elon Musk's Starlink service, here you are, you get a nice narrative 1,000-word essay. So it ended up being, you know, 1,131 words. And it's like well formatted, it's logically organized. I mean, this gets you on almost any research project to 80% of where you need to be. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that there is something called hallucination in AI. So sometimes on certain topics, these large language models, they hallucinate. So they can provide inaccurate information. So you do need to keep that reality in mind at all times when you're using content. So just keep that in mind. But one of the things, I look at this memo and I'm like, it's great, but I actually I'm researching Starlink because I'm considering as a consumer to actually buy the service. So I'm going to say I'm going to add a prompt. I'm going to say, add in a paragraph describing the retail pricing of Starlink and where I can buy it. Okay, and let's just see what it does. Okay, so it's reproducing the essay. And then what we see here is now there's a paragraph added saying Starlink's retail pricing reflects its commitment to providing high-speed internet to remote underserved areas. This service currently costs $99 a month, and you can get a starter kit for $4.99 and get started. So awesome. Now I might look at this and go, you know what, this is too lengthy. I want to make this shorter. So like make this essay 500 words. Okay, let's see what it does. So you might say, hey, I liked the 1,000-word essay. I want to send this to my boss, but I don't want I don't want to belabor it too much. I want it to be a little bit punchier and crisper. And so now it's taken the 1,200 word essay and boiled it down to 557 words. So pretty amazing technology to bootstrap you on research projects, to help you create content from scratch. But I think we all, when we're using generative AI technology, we have this like funny concern, which is like, are we all going to start sounding the same? How do we make this technology unique? And I think this is where the art of artificial intelligence comes in, is we have to use this technology as a way to boost our productivity, power our output, but we also need to provide the brains, the intelligence, the insights, the unique perspectives, the intellectual property. And so the art of using these AI tools is to know what to produce, know what to say, but to leverage the tool to help you do it more quickly and more productively. And so let me just give you a quick use case of that. So Nathan and I have been producing webinars for SnapTech for a couple of years now. We do one a month, and we always record today's session. So we record it, so we have a transcript of today's session, and we always produce a blog about the webinar. So traditionally, we've written that blog ourselves. Let me just show you how you can go about using Copilot to, so what we've done is I've saved a transcript of a prior webinar in my OneDrive, and because it's in my OneDrive, it's in that Microsoft graph. And now I'm going to ask Copilot to produce a 500 word blog leveraging our recent webinars transcript. And then I'm going to point Copilot to the 37-page transcript of one of our webinars we produced back in May. And it's going to grab this Word document from my OneDrive, and then it's going to generate the document from there. And now you just think about all the use cases that you could go, like you could take your meeting minutes from a trade show. You could record a session at a trade. I did this the other day. I recorded a session at a trade show. I put it into a tool I used to take recorded audio and create a transcript, and I had it write a memo summarizing this meeting I was in. So here you go. I'm pointing to the 37-page transcript. It's now produced a 500-word blog, 590-word blog article summarizing a recent webinar we've done. So to me, this is where the art of leveraging AI really comes into play. Nathan, are there any questions that we can address?
One comment on this quick is, number one, you save time by getting AI to do the transcript, right? Load the video in, get it to transcribe it, you get it out, then you get AI to do the blog. This gets you so far down the road of getting to the final piece of content. Now, we would never say, okay, then take this blog and publish it. Like, read through it, change it, make sure it's in your voice, update it, make it your own, add some personality in there. If it's me writing, I'm looking to add a little bit of my own sense of humor in there as well, because my name's going to be on the bottom, so it's got to be coming from my voice. And so that's the way we work with it, is, cut out the mundane steps, get AI to do that, but then step back in and make it human, make it yours, make it in your voice, because you are only going to appeal to other humans if it sounds like it's coming from another human. All right, so real quick, couple of questions regarding the pricing. Is it based on an annual fee per user or for the entire company with no limits on users? Apologize if I missed that information.
Yeah, it's $360 per user per year, which is effectively about a $30 cost per employee. Now, and you can license it in onesie twosies, or you can license it for the executive team, or you can license it for kind of everybody in the company who creates content and not license it for others. I mean, to give you some perspective, Microsoft Business Premium today costs roughly $22 per employee per month. So Microsoft's asking for quite a big premium for this technology, but you're seeing like the radical productivity benefits in our demo. So that's how it's priced and packaged. And you have to have Microsoft Business Premium, or you have to have Microsoft 365 to leverage the functionality we were showing in Teams and so on and so forth. And then they do have the prosumer version, which I didn't mention, which is $20 a month. But really, if you're a corporation, some of your most killer apps are going to be the ones you'd actually do in Teams.
Yeah, and so that's that $30 per user per month fee, but probably and then annualized, right? So,
that's
all right.
Okay. All right. So
that's about it. Yeah, we had some other questions, but I addressed them personally with the people. So.
Okay, great. So PowerPoint, to me, like this is crazy powerful. I mean, I think the stuff we saw with Outlook and Word, it's pretty awesome. But like the ability to create a visual presentation that's combining words and images is where I just think of all the time I've spent in my life creating PowerPoint presentations from scratch. And to have this, so again, Copilot is nested in the right areas in the app. So you can just like click on it and then you get this like right bar and you can go again, just like we did before, create a presentation from a file. So you can point it to a transcript or a memo or a white paper or, virtually anything that's in written form that could inform the content of the PowerPoint. But we're going to create a presentation about, and we're just going to, I think I just copied the whole prompt. So I'm just going to delete this and just paste this in here. Create a presentation about EV vehicles. So let's see what it does. Now, it's not quite as speedy as Microsoft Word or Outlook because it's doing both text and visuals. So.
Yeah, but what you will notice is that it's going to come back a lot faster with draft one than if you were to create it yourself, or if you were to hire even your, biggest PowerPoint guru to get you with draft one.
So, I mean, all things considered, that's a pretty arresting visual. That's pretty good for the cover page. This is kind of like artful, like we're going through the history of electric vehicles. So this is giving me a built-in agenda. So we have history, types of electrical vehicles, benefits, future of electric vehicles. Now, this is kind of like, okay, this is a pretty good example of like, what the heck is going on with this image? Like this is where like we go through this and this presentation, and it's got a lot of the right, like green energy. It's got the charging stations. It's got, a visual with a lot of green in it. But there will be times where the AI engine just kind of like, I mean, who knows? Does this fit? Like, okay, we're talking about history, so we're going to go all the way back. And I guess the point about this one is this image is actually correct. Now that I look at the text that's off to the right, is that EV vehicles actually did exist in the 19th century, like some of the earliest models, but at some point the combustion engine became more economically feasible. So,
because they didn't have extension cords long enough to get you from one farm to the next, right?
There you go. So now, like one thing you can do, so this gets you to that 80% point, but one thing you can do is, future of EV technology. But I'm saying, like, I think what I'm missing on this is I want to add a slide. I'm going to say add a slide that explains how consumers need to upgrade their homes for EVs. And let's see what it does. So it's something, it's a piece of information I see missing from the presentation, and I'm going to ask it to add a slide on that topic. So let's see how it does on that. Okay, so and it's great. So upgrading your home for electric vehicles require this. Homeowners should hire a licensed electrician. Blah blah blah. Nice visual. Now another thing that I think another thing you need to realize is that once you start using, a lot of people in the past have not used Microsoft Designer or Designer in PowerPoint, because if you create a PowerPoint from scratch yourself, it probably has the layout and the formatting you like wanted from begin with, so it's not very useful. But Designer is far more useful now in PowerPoint because Copilot's giving you this default formatting of something, and then if you use Designer, you can really kind of quickly play around with different formats for a slide. So I might say, well, I like this slide, but it's not terribly consistent with the rest of the formatting of these other slides. You see that most of them are either image left, text right, image left, or text left, image right. So I want to fix this one, and so let's go. I'm going to go image left, text right, and I like this one here. I'm going to go there, and then just with a click of a button, Designer has all these different formats for that particular slide right there at your fingertips. And with one click of the button, you get the right formatting, and now I have something that's more consistent with the rest of the PowerPoint presentation. So Designer is, something you're going to be using a lot more. Another thing you can do, with Copilot is somebody can send you a PowerPoint presentation, and you could say, like, summarize this presentation. So maybe somebody sends you a 50-page deck, and you're like, I don't want to go through the whole thing. You can ask Copilot to summarize the presentation, or potentially you use Copilot to create this presentation. You're about to getting ready to send a draft around, and you want to use Copilot to give you a quick summary of the presentation. Copy, bang, go over to your email, drop that in, and you're off to the races. So we could go, we could keep doing this all day, but I think you get the idea. Like, Copilot has the ability in PowerPoint to get you easily to 80% of where you need to be. This tool is going to make you super productive, make your team super productive, and really just turbocharge your output. That's what it's all about. So, Nathan, why don't we go back to the Q&A?
Yeah. So somebody was asking, does Copilot also work when not using the new version of Outlook? And so I don't know if you can comment on that.
Yeah, that's a good question. As of a couple months ago, Copilot for Outlook only worked with the new Outlook. And that was a huge problem because a lot of people are madly in love with traditional Outlook and not very much in love with the new Outlook. But just, I think it was in November 1, the traditional Outlook client now has Copilot. I won't show it to you because I don't want to open my corporate email and show that on our webinar. But trust me, the traditional Outlook, which is where I spend most of my time when I'm using Outlook, now you can use Copilot right in the traditional version of Outlook.
You're gonna love this one, Ted, because this is, when we usually get to that one slide of like the good, the bad, and the not quite there yet, this is the question. How does Copilot work with Excel?
Yeah, it's a work in progress, I would say. It's I haven't found a ton of killer apps, but I'm a sales and marketing guy, so I deal mostly in words. And same with Nathan. Like we spend time creating emails and messaging for our sales team and PowerPoint presentations and that sort of thing. So we're not spreadsheet jockeys necessarily, and so I would say it's the one app that Microsoft has the most work to do, because it's not like when you go in and give it some really complex task, it's not readily apparent that it's very good at it. Now that being said, I have heard some great success stories from people, like on formula generation, having some good success with it. Like if you just have like a really big curveball where you're trying to generate a particular formula, it's getting pretty good there. So anyway, with Excel, I would say it's like an area that I'm like continuing to study and try to find like really good use cases that a sales and marketing team could use, but I haven't found a ton of them. So somebody who's more in like the finance and accounting world, or somebody who's in like the data science field, maybe they're finding ways to bang on it and get a lot of value out of it. But for me, not yet a lot of value.
Oh, and then my own curiosity too, which I haven't played around with yet, would be like coming out of a PowerPoint presentation, could you also ask Copilot to do like a beefed up handout that gives attendees some like fill in the blank questions so that as they're watching the presentation, they're actively engaged, and then they have this little handout that they can participate in. I've been to different sessions at different thought leadership conferences where you get a little booklet and it encourages you to follow along, get the main points, fill in the blanks, and that sort of stuff. So that would be something that
Yeah, it's a little beyond the scope of our, what you can do in an hour demo, but there's all kinds of ability to, like in Word, have Copilot create, like bespoke content of different formats. Like, I'll just give you a couple examples. So when we did our Copilot workshop back in the summertime, one of the things I handed out was like like an agenda of the content, and I gave it kind of like just a quick rundown of like raw bullet points, and it turned it into like a nicely formatted 1-page like agenda for the day, and like perfectly formatted, took my little bootstrap of like bullets and turned it into a really nice agenda. And I was able to create that in a New York minute. Let me give you another example. So there's other apps in the Microsoft 365 platform that have Copilot baked in too. And one of the things I did, like back in the summertime, we were doing our Copilot workshop, and it was like the night before, and I was like, oh, I need a satisfaction survey for my audience. And I thought, oh, I'll do it in Google Forms. I'm like, oh, I usually use Google Forms for a lot of my survey type things. I'm like, no, this is a Microsoft presentation. Let's use a Microsoft Forms. And then I went into my Microsoft 365 account. I'm like, Microsoft Forms, and bang, I see, Copilot. And I said to Copilot, I said, hey, create a 6-question satisfaction survey that incorporates one Net Promoter Score question. Clicked on it, boom. It gave me a 6-question satisfaction survey for the event. I did a little bit of lightweight editing on one of the questions, and bang, I was done. And it literally took me like 7 minutes to create that. And that to me is just like encapsulates the way this technology is going to fundamentally transform how we do work. It's not autopilot. It's not taking the brains out of things. It's not giving us the idea to do a Copilot workshop or to do a seminar with our clients or to do a webinar on a topic. We still have to provide that brain power and insight, but it's allowing us to be massively more productive in all of those little things that we need to do to host a workshop, host a seminar, go on a sales call, create a presentation. We have to still add all that value as knowledge workers, but this technology allows us to fundamentally be far more productive and fast in how we create content. So with that,
Ted, we are running out of time, but let's plug a couple of moments here. So you can book an appointment. You can speak to a SnapTech IT expert today. You can talk about risk assessments with us. You could even bring up Copilot readiness, which is actually going to be the topic of our next webinar. So click on that QR code also on your right. To register for our next webinar, Copilot Readiness, 5 Key Considerations to get your company AI ready. When you click on that code, it'll be taking you to our GoToWebinar registration page. There'll be a little synopsis on some more details on that topic. But if you are, at the end of this presentation, you're like, oh, okay, we got to get Copilot. Attend next month's webinar too, so you know how to be prepped to be using it. And with that said, this last question, Ted, goes along with this key considerations to get AI ready. At an admin level, are we able to feed Copilot industry jargon, context, or other info to make it smarter for our users?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is
we'll answer it next month. No, I'm just kidding. Give us an answer.
Well, the key issue is that Copilot leverages the content that's in your Microsoft Graph. So if it's in your chats, in your meetings, in your documents that are living in SharePoint and OneDrive, then yes, you are feeding what Copilot can output and you can be even very specific, directing Copilot to leverage certain content in your Microsoft environment when you go to create content. So that's the short answer. Join us next month to talk about further consideration around security, data privacy, and the like in terms of deployment. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody for joining this month's SnapTech IT webinar. And we look forward to seeing everybody next month. Happy holidays and Happy New Year. Take care.
All right, recording will be coming to everyone in an email as well. So we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks again, everybody. Bye.
Take care.